Hello, Tickle Monsters. It's Uncle Tickles speaking in this hushed tone because it's super late. The kids are in bed, sleeping just a few feet from where I'm recording, and Papa Pappas is in our basement. He is on overnight duty, and he's on overnight duty because he's watching the kids all weekend. Lita and I are off to Mexico for the Viva Velasquez wedding. That's right. Congratulations, Tim and Sean. We'll be there butt chugging beers with you guys in no time. Can't wait. Before we get to the butt chugging, let's get you guys a butt chugging sweet episode of New Dad. This is one of my favorites we've recorded. We have Katelyn Bends, entrepreneur, homeschooler, hoodrat, and amazing mother of two. She's telling all sorts of stories. She's lived 1,000 lives. You don't want to miss this. Don't forget, rate, review, subscribe, share this episode, help Uncle Tickles out, and we're going to get to Katelyn right after the best song in the podcast biz. Propcause, take us away. Welcome back. This is Uncle Tickles. You are listening or watching New Dad. And as I said in the intro, we are joined today by a friend of mine, a friend of my wife's, Katelyn Bends, a terrific mother, really great hang, and all around great person. Katelyn,
Thank you. You're giving me too much credit.
No. Introduce yourself to all of our little tickle monsters out there.
Hi, Tickle Monsters. I'm Katelyn. I'm a mom of two. I'm currently residing in Chicago. I love Tom and Lita. They're so amazing. I'll do anything to get close to them, including this podcast. So whatever I got to do to get in and keep them in my web of friendship forever, I'll do it.
That's right. Well, I think you got us. I think we're locked in.
Okay, good. All right, I was hoping.
You secured the bag.
Okay, good. I roped you in.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So you mentioned you have two kids. What are the ages of your kids?
Oh my God. So I have a 13-year-old. Julian is 13. And then Raph is going to be 1 in 2 weeks. So there's a 12-year difference.
Well, and how is that even possible that you have a 13-year-old looking at you? You look so young.
Thank you.
Were you a baby when you had Julian?
I was. Oh my gosh. Babies having babies. I was on the Maury show and I was one of those girls. No, I was actually 23, but still really young, especially like in Chicago. And all my friends were still in college. So yeah, I was pretty young. Yeah, it was crazy.
I mean, and there's a lot that we can unpack there, but
right.
Let's just walk through you find out you're having a baby at 23. What are your first thoughts?
So you asked me how did I feel when I was having the baby? And I will say that I was a hood rat, and like my only aspirations during that time was to be a baby mama. So I think I did a good job.
If my memory serves me correct, I met you around the time, Julian,
he was like 2.
Yeah, right around the
1
time
or
he
2.
was born. And one of the things.
And how old were you then?
I mean, at that point, I was
23.
I was like 30. I was 30 at the time.
Okay.
I think,
you were not like 30.
No, I was. I'm 40 now. So if like.
I know, but you're only like 4 years older than me, so you weren't like 30. Well, maybe, I guess. No. I was 25, I guess, when I met you. Anyway.
Yeah. So, but what always, I guess, stood out was the fact that you were clearly, someone who cared very much for their kid, which is, prerequisite
Definitely,
number one.
Yeah.
You had a good time, but you were also, such a dedicated mom that, it's impressive. Do you think that, and I know that there's a lot of things, a lot of ways you can look at a situation like that, right?
For sure.
And is it fair to say that, even though you're saying, your goal was to be a baby mama, was Was this something that on your vision board at 23, you had,
I really think so. Like
yeah,
looking back, I was just like, that's what I want to be.
yeah,
Like I just really didn't have any aspirations. So I didn't really have any goals or anything. I'm not saying that like, a single mom just doesn't have goals or whatnot, but just for me, like that, my only goal was kind of just like to have a man and like if I get pregnant,
for sure.
like I really didn't have anything going on. I didn't really know what my life would be. So yeah, it was kind of like what I had going on. Well, all my friends were in college. That's like really what it was. So
And, I'm not saying that this was a subconscious thing, but I imagine based on the way you just described kind of your place in life when you were pregnant,
yeah.
would you say that this is probably an understatement, but that Julian was a blessing, because
Oh, definitely. Yeah, he definitely slowed me down, and we grew up together for sure.
well, slowed you down, but also, I would never describe you as someone, that wasn't driven or, that didn't have a lot of drive because the entire time I've known you, you've been, one of the attributes I would, use to describe you as a hustler. You were always,
Oh well, thank you,
it
Tommy.
seemed like you were always
Awesome.
grinding. So, was,
Definitely, especially now with my line of work. Like I'm definitely a hustler. But back then I was still just trying to figure it out and being a mom. So I
and,
was juggling that.
and how does, having a kid suddenly light a fire that maybe wasn't lit before?
I'm like, I need a goal. I'm like, I
Yeah,
need a plan in life because I've got another mouth to feed. And especially like living in Chicago, and it's expensive. And if you
for
want to
sure.
stay here, you have to make the money. So, it just made me really focused. I think ultimately that's when I started the vision board and was like, I need to get these goals together and make the best life I can for Julian.
And, I know that no one can really do that on their own. And I would guess that you had a lot of help, doing that. And a lot of times that help starts with, your family. And I know you're extremely
Definitely.
close
Yeah,
with your
I'm
mom
so
and your
lucky.
dad and your
Mhm.
sister as well. So let's take a quick little step back and, tell me a little bit about your mom and dad and what they were like when you were a kid growing up and how, their influence as parents kind of shaped you as the parent that you are now.
Definitely. I mean, my parents are the best. They've been married for like 45 years, Bruce and Sue.
That's right.
Um, they're seriously the best. They just were so loving. They were always there. We had a really happy household. So I really was very fortunate. And I just always knew that my mom is like silly and goofy and I kind of took that from her, and I find myself saying things that she says all the time. And I have no idea where she gets them from. I was just in Michigan with her, and anytime we're gonna leave the house, she's like, here's a picture of us leaving, which means let's go, guys. And I don't know why. And I say it to my kids, and I'm turning into my mom. And I'm like, oh my God, no, I'm not.
Well,
This can't be real.
from the little bit I've seen of Sue on social media, I would say that's not a bad person to turn into. She seems
Oh, Sue is turned up. Sue is
oh yeah.
so lit.
She
66 is the new 21, I'm telling you.
she likes a good song, she likes a good dance, she
That's
likes to have
right.
fun.
Play that Meg Thee Stallion for Sue because she's ready to show off.
She's ready to buck. Um and then Bruce, again, I've never actually met your parents, but I've always felt a weird, kind of kinship to
Of
Bruce
course. You
because
are adopted with us.
well, Bruce, he's a football coach, but he's
Yeah,
also, and again, I'm gathering all of this from
of
just what I
course.
witnessed on social media. So feel free to put me in
Yeah,
my place and tell me I don't know shit. But he
you
also
got it.
seems
You're on point right now.
he also seems like very well read and
He is. Yeah.
someone who loves just a good book and
He
just
has a master's in English.
okay. So
Yeah.
that explains a lot. So it's like this I guess a juxtaposition that you don't see very often, where he's got kind of the meatheadish side, but he's also got the brainiac side.
Exactly. It's very confusing, but it's so Bruce in every way. Total meathead, total football, everything's football. And then, there's like the Steinbeck collection and like the
He's
bookshelf. And I'm
he's
like, okay,
quoting
Dad.
Shakespeare at dinner.
He really could.
Yeah, that's the impression I get from him.
He
So,
will.
I think for me, again, having this like artificial understanding or thinking that I know who your mom is, it's clear to see some of the things that you've taken from her. What do you think you've taken from Bruce?
Definitely the reading, the fiction and nonfiction, the books, literature, to my kids for sure. Um, And other than that, I would say that I'm not really like him because
No.
he is kind of just subdued and he's a quiet guy. He's a
Yeah.
man. He's not a big talker,
Yeah.
he
Well, I
doesn't
mean,
like small talk.
I think the biggest gift he
So
could give you was, the value of reading and books. And so if you took that,
yeah,
that's
well,
probably
that's
number
great.
one. And I'm sure that's probably what he would say that he wanted you to
Right. But
take.
we call him Grandpa instead of Grandpa. We call him Grandpa because he's just like grumpy. And he just had shoulder surgery. So he's like, and then he broke 2 ribs recently. So he's like even more
Just
grumpy.
miserable. It
So
looked
we're
like he
just like,
lost a lot of
okay,
weight too. Did he lose a lot of weight
he
recently?
lost weight.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh. And me and my
Mm.
sister were actually freaked out because it's like aging him. And we're like, does dad have, is there something more serious going on just because he got so thin?
Uh-huh.
But there's not. He's just,
Well, that's
he's
good to know.
snatched. He went
Yeah.
to Dr. Miami. He
He's trying to
wanted a
get
BBL.
zaddied. I mean,
He
Sue's,
really is. I'm like, who are you trying to impress out
well,
here?
Sue's pretty
Saginaw,
fit.
Michigan.
Like you said,
Yeah,
Sue's fit for
he's out here.
66. He's just trying to keep up with Sue. Um,
He really is.
I mean, and that would be, I'm 40 years old. I think I would have a hard time keeping up with Sue. Were your parents
Yeah, I
strict? Were they strict
no,
parents?
no,
No.
I will say one thing about my parents though. They were not strict. They'd allow my sister to do things, but when it came to like sex or drugs and we had any questions about it, it was like taboo. Like my parents were just like, no, don't talk about that. Or that's, and it was just like, okay, it was like weird. It's like, why wouldn't you talk to me about that? So I always thought that was kind of weird because
Are, are they fairly
I'm pretty open
religious?
with Julia.
Are they
They're
fairly religious?
not really.
No? Okay.
They're like Christian, but not really like, I don't know. Like,
I've just noticed there's a trend in Christianity and like taboo, like things you can't or don't feel comfortable
right.
speaking
Shouldn't
about.
say that. Yeah.
I don't know what it is, or it's just maybe they're still from that generation that was taught to be ashamed of all
They
that stuff.
are, I just keep it real with Julian. So
Yeah, we got to. I think
you
that's
got to.
you got to. You really
Right.
do. So if your parents weren't very strict, what were you like as a kid? Were you? Just knowing you, I imagine you were
I
probably
I
a
was a hood
handful.
rat.
A hood rat, a handful.
I was so terrible, to be honest. I was just like so bad. I was bad from the very beginning. I had like ADD. So
Now,
but my parents like refused. What's that, hon?
well, I was gonna say when you say bad, like what do you mean by bad?
Oh, it's terrible.
Like sneaking out
I
of the
was
house, drinking.
all the above. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like talking about like when I was like starting at 5 though. I pushed a teacher. Like I was bad. I called the principal a bitch. Like I was bad since day one.
Oh my God. How- and Sue and Bruce just kind of
They
they
it
just
was
rode
I'm
with
sure
it.
it was like a nightmare.
Yeah. Well,
It was a
I
nightmare.
maybe I need to have them on an episode because
You do.
I have a feeling like Shep's going down that road. Shep might be.
Oh no, he's not.
No,
No,
I don't
I
know.
can tell. I
He's
already assessed him. He's good.
he's a little hood
There's no
radish
way.
lately. He's been pushing some boundaries lately.
Oh
Um,
no, I
yeah,
don't know. I was so bad. And just growing up, it led to even like more like rebellion. So like my teenage years, definitely skipping school, definitely just like, meh,
was there
you
ever a
know.
time you got caught that you remember like having to deal with your parents, like a specific?
Oh my God, all the time. You know what was really terrible? That like my mom was always trying to catch me with weed to the
Okay.
point that one time I went to Coinstar. And the one time that I didn't have weed and I literally went to Coinstar, I had like a Ziploc bag that I had coins in and I took the coins out. My mom grounded me because she found a Ziploc bag on me. Like, what would this be for? I know it's drugs. I'm like, it's literally Coinstar. I'm like, here's my receipt. It's Coinstar. It's not weed this time. So,
Oh.
I mean, that's just like one of the many, but.
And how do they are they now that weed's legal in a lot of places? How are they adjusting to that?
Oh my God, I
There's
was just in
different.
Michigan and I was like smoking weed on the front porch. I'm like, I smoke cigars too, Dad.
Yeah.
Because my dad like smokes cigars, not like blunts,
Right.
but me.
For sure.
So now they don't care. I
Okay.
smoke and like the dispensaries there are great. It's so
Yeah.
inexpensive. So I was up in there like getting it
Uh, and
in.
and I have to ask, if you were kind of looking back, and a lot of people will say this, I guess, if they were hard on their parents as kids, they feel like they are going to get it with their child, twice as bad.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad I don't have a girl because she would be a hood rat for sure.
But Julian's pretty nice. I mean, he's like I feel like you
He's a
lucked
nice,
out,
yeah, he's a
right?
nice kid.
And he
He's a
helps
nice
out.
kid. Yeah, he's way better than me. Way more innocent than me, definitely. Definitely.
So it
I'm
might
lucky
skip a
there.
generation. It might skip a
Yeah.
generation. Julian's gonna get it. He's gonna get a little baby
I
Taylor.
hope so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the hand he'll be dealt. Um, I do want to ask this because as you mentioned, Julian's, you said 13, right?
Yeah,
And you have another child, Rafi, who's just under one,
right.
decent size age gap. Um, Raising a kid at 23 versus raising a kid now, how do you compare the two? Is one significantly harder than the other? Because I should say, or at least reinforce, part of the reason I want to have you on is because you raised Julian in large part as a single mom.
Yeah,
Um, and now you have a partner that's helping you raise Rafi. So
yeah,
I imagine just that in general makes it a lot easier. But also, you're raising a kid, during a pandemic, which adds an added level of challenge. So, do you want to talk about the
for
differences a little bit? What was easier then? What's
sure.
harder now? All those things.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say when I was 23, it was difficult just because I was so young and I was just so much more immature. I wasn't as focused as I am now. And I didn't have the resources, I didn't have the money. It was much more of a struggle. My parents definitely had to step in a lot more. And also, Julian's dad and I were only together until he was 2. So, we split basically when he was 2. And yeah, and then I had to go on my own. I had to pay this rent here. I had to
Mhm.
find daycare, which was a nightmare. I was always getting fired from jobs. I never had daycare. It was terrible. But now I'm 36, I'm in my career. We have everything, and not only that, but we have like family here. Baron's mom takes the baby every day. If we don't bring the baby over there, she is at our doorstep. We're really lucky. It's easy now. It's easy peasy. I barely have to work. I've had my whole pregnancy in Miami. It was amazing. And then we came back here to Chicago. So it's a lot different. 23 to 36.
For
So it's a
sure.
total difference for me. And I'm loving it now, obviously. It's great. But yeah, back then it was definitely a struggle for sure.
I find as someone who appreciates movies and music and all things pop culture related, uh,
Yeah,
they say that some of the best art is created through the artist's struggling times, and as artists
absolutely. I believe
become
that.
become more successful, a lot of times the art that they're creating doesn't resonate the same way with the fans. And so I guess what I'm getting to is there's I think something that we have as humans, where we romanticize these harder times. Is there any part of you that kind of looks back on those early days when it was just kind of you and Julian, and you know struggling a little bit? And maybe that's a stretch. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
No, it definitely is. It was definitely a struggle. Yeah.
but is there any part of you that romanticizes that or looks back on that and
Of
thinking,
course,
yeah,
yeah. I'm a very nostalgic person, so I always look back at those times. And I miss Julian being young. I will tell you right now, Tommy, 9 years old goes to 13 like so quick. Like I don't even recognize Julian anymore. He used to be this skinny, tiny little boy with a squeaky little voice dancing around, and now all of a sudden he's a grown man with hair and opinions and hormones and all that. And I'm like,
right,
who are you? You are. I look back at these videos. I'm like, these are two different people. That's like
right,
the hardest part. The baby's easy.
oh
It's
yeah,
a 13-year-old that is. It gets challenging.
for sure. Well, and I feel like I'm getting like a little preview of that now with Shep, on that three-nager going on four.
Teenager.
He's
You just need a lot of energy. You're basically just chasing them around saying no all day. I swear.
well,
That's
a
all
lot of
I do.
energy, yeah. I mean, and also it's just I mentioned this in one of the earlier episodes, but it's just for the first time in his life, I'm starting to see how like I've kind of fucked him up as a parent, just by spoiling him with
No
certain things.
way.
Well, spoiling him, he gets a lot of stuff. He has a lot of expectations. He's a little
Yeah.
demanding.
They're all like that though.
Takes things for granted, and it's just
Totally.
definitely want to try to stop all that as soon as possible, or at least get it in
Oh,
front
for
of it.
sure. No, I mean, good luck with that because that's going on in my household too. They're
Well,
always begging.
well, right, and I feel like you haven't really touched on when you're talking about your upbringing, your economic standing, but fair to say middle class.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, we didn't have any financial issues. It was a two-parent household. They both worked. Yeah. We got to go to Abercrombie. We got to shop there. So
Gotcha. I mean, because for me, it's always one of those things where it's like I just want to obvious, and I think this is very relatable as a parent. You want to give your kids the things you weren't able to have, right? And that's the battle. It's like giving
Right.
them.
No, I was super spoiled. My dad bought me a Camaro, a drop top Camaro, my
Okay.
first car when I was 16.
Go
I'll show
Bruce.
you a picture. It was awesome. It had T-tops and it was champagne. So no, we were
Woo!
spoiled. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Um, well, yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's something that I guess a lot of parents deal with, and good to hear that. I guess not good and not good to hear that. Everyone's struggling with it. Um,
It's
yeah,
but it's hard as a parent not to do. You want your kids to be happy,
for sure, for
And
sure.
sometimes you want them to just shut up. You're like, here.
Yes, yes, yes. A
My
lot
mom's
of
like, what does that toy do? I'm like, it keeps my kid quiet. Okay, there we go. We're good.
exactly, yeah. Same thing with tablets and all of that stuff. It's like,
Right,
yeah,
exactly. Screen time. Psh.
right. It's the easy. Yeah, as a parent, sometimes you just need to get stuff done, and that's you know,
Amen. I hear that. I
for sure.
work from home and I'm always like mom all the time.
Well,
So
and going back to I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but as we said, you're with Baron now. He's a
yeah.
very helpful, lovely man. I've met him a couple times. I've had
Yes, he loves you.
beautiful man, and but like for a long time, I can't imagine being a single parent, right? Because I have again, I also
Yeah.
have a wonderful partner who's helpful. But there are times where it's just even with two people, and I'm sure you deal with that now. Like even with Baron helping, it's sometimes it can be really
No, it blows
difficult.
my mind. I'm
Yeah,
like, how did I do that at
right.
23? I have no idea. I really don't know how I survived that.
Well, and I think you just do it, however you need to, right? It's what it kind of,
Right. Yeah.
like you said, if that means a little bit of extra tablet time or screen time, then that you get it. If that means
Absolutely.
giving
I'm all
you,
for that. Here's your
yeah,
video game.
for sure, yes, 1,000%. Um, so we're kind of talking about this quite a bit, but I think it's a huge part of being a parent in general, right? Because as I just said, everyone who listens to the show knows, Lita, I have a partner, and our support circle is so important to us. As far as being able to
Yeah.
have balance in our lives, the being able to travel a little bit, feeling comfortable
Definitely. Yeah, you
when
guys
you.
go awesome places.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And you can't do that without a support circle. And that, again, if you're a single parent, that support circle becomes even more important. We've talked a
Yeah,
little bit about.
especially when your parents are in Michigan, and then my sister moved away from Chicago. So I basically was out here all alone. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. I can't. It's, um, it's almost stupid to say that being a parent is hard, but you can
Yeah.
probably, even without kids, stop and just try to imagine the difficulty when you're doing it alone. Um,
I'm a gangster. I guess
you
I
are.
really am. Go me.
You really are. But as you said, you had some help. Bruce and Sue would step in a little bit
Bruce
more in those
Hunter, Bruce
early
too.
years.
That's right.
Trish, as you said, she moved away. Um,
Definitely.
but then you moved out to LA, and we're kind of
I
jumping around
did.
in the notes a little bit here. But LA, a lot of people will know this about me. It's my favorite city in the continental United States.
Aw.
I got to come out there and hang out with you a couple times.
I know we
Uh,
need to do it again.
yeah, we do. We do need to do it. I need an LA trip. I was actually thinking about that. Um, Tell me a little bit about your time in LA.
Oh, well, I was just in Chicago and my sister was in LA and she was like, girl, you should just come out here. Like, let's get a place together. And I was like, okay, if you're, fine with that, me bringing my kid. So, yeah, it turned out to be a really good thing for us. We had a really good time and she, was a really big support to me. She works in Hollywood. She's a critic for Netflix and she writes for the New York Times, their late night column. And she's also publishing her book that should be coming out within the next year. So she's doing a lot of wonderful things. And she really wanted me to get into the industry. And I don't know if we didn't mention it, but just the line of work that I do, I'm a reseller. So basically I just like thrift or go to wholesale places and find items and sell them on like eBay and Amazon and so forth. So I started to do that in LA and I know Tommy gives me credit and says that I have drive, but ultimately I am kind of lazy. And I don't know that I really want it. Like she would offer me jobs, like, oh, you can go work for this show and be a stylist. But me, like, I really just want to thrift and list stuff on eBay. And like, that's all I really want to do. That's my job. And That's all I want to do. So, I don't think for me that like I would, do well in like a professional Hollywood setting just because I like my own hours kind of thing. And I'm just so used to like being my own boss. But I do really well in LA and I love it. And it's still a huge part of my life.
Is it fair to say that that's kind of where your career took off a little bit? I mean, I know you're saying
Oh,
that
absolutely. I started my business several times in Chicago, but the resale industry in LA is like no other. It's the best in the nation. If you want to be a reseller, go to LA because that's where you need to go. And I didn't even know when I was moving to LA, I felt like I needed to get a job. I was like looking at retail jobs there, and then I realized like, oh no, I can fully rely on like my eBay store, and that's what I do now, and so it's
yeah.
amazing.
Do you want to plug that eBay store right now?
What's that?
Why don't you plug
Do I
that
want to
eBay?
plug it?
Yeah,
Oh,
plug it.
yeah. It's just Fashion X Logic eBay store. I believe it's fashionxlogic.com.
There you
I
go.
believe it's the that will take you to my eBay store and everything I have. So feel free to shop with me. And if you don't, I don't care because there's a billion people worldwide that do.
Yeah, that's right. Amanda Bynes is one of them.
That's right. She sure did.
Yeah, that's right. Who was the coolest celebrity you met while you were out there?
Well, Reba McEntire, I think, was
Ooh.
really cool. And she was at an award ceremony that my sister was at. Claire Danes was also there. That was super cool. I mean, that's like iconic, Claire Danes,
Oh
like
yeah.
90s kids. So, and she was actually pregnant. I think it's Billy Crudup,
Yeah.
or her baby daddy.
Mhm.
She was actually pregnant during the time, and they were standing at the bar, just like by the bar there, and I went at the Beverly Hilton, and I went up there to get my drink, and she like we locked eyes, like she was just like looking at me for a moment. I'm like, oh my god, Claire Danes is looking at me. So I didn't really meet her, but we locked eyes, and she was looking at me.
Did you do your best Jordan
Um,
Catalano?
yeah.
Just
I think that Seal was also really cool at
ooh.
Nobu, just because I was turned up, and I was just like, take a picture with me, and Seal like full on let me have a photo shoot like surrounding him. So I mean that was really cool. I mean Seal, come on
Yeah.
now.
Hey, Kiss from a Rose is a banger. So
That is
Seal's
a
a
freaking banger.
yes. Seal's
I
a friend
love
of the
that
program.
song.
Seal's a
I
friend
need
of the
to add
program.
that to my Spotify.
Uh, who were there? I mean, and I know this is a little more touchy, and perhaps you don't want to name any names, but were there any real shitty celebrities you met? Just assholes or jerks?
Oh, you know who I think is a jerk?
Who?
I
Yeah.
haven't really met them, but I was
Yeah.
thinking about this the other day. But Jay Moore, do you remember him?
Oh
He's
yeah,
from
the comedian.
yeah, he was really rude. I was flying from Chicago to LA one time, and this girl, we like maybe there was a delay or something. I forgot. And this girl and I were just talking about going to LA, and I was like, "That's Jay Moore. Do you not know who that is?" And when we approached him, she approached him because I never want to approach anybody. She
Right.
approached him and she was like, will you take a picture with her because she is a big fan or she likes whatever. And he just looked at us. He took the picture with us, but he looked at her. He's like, oh, you're not a fan of mine, or you don't know who I am, or something like that, like really rude. But now I realized that he was like disheveled. Like he was probably like drunk or something. I don't know. Sorry, Jay Moore.
Sorry, Jay. Yeah, he does.
It
some-
was me.
He does a
I'm
few
not
decent
bashing you.
That's right. It's just a bad.
I could
guy.
probably find the pictures too. It's really funny because he literally took selfies with me, and I'm looking at and like looking back, he was disheveled.
For sure, I'm gonna need the Seal pick and the Jay Moore pick to promote.
Yeah, let
this
me think if
episode.
there's anybody else that's rude that I can like think of off top really quick. Yeah, for most part, I don't really. No, Kirstie Alley. I actually saw her one time at the Glendale Galleria. And Kirstie Alley, I totally forgot she's a Scientologist, but my eyes like widened when I saw her, and she like gave me a dirty look. She like snubbed me, like don't even say hi to me. But like I was just surprised with Kirstie Alley. I'm like, girl, look who's not talking now.
Was this post Dancing with the Stars, Kirstie Alley?
It was like 2017, so
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's post because I feel like she had a little renaissance after that.
She was rude. She gave me a dirty look. So
Do you know who
okay,
was
I'm not
really?
gonna say hi to you.
Do you remember meeting Bobby Lee at the Comedy Store?
I do. I love him.
I thought
he was cool.
I thought he was very, very nice. Shout out to
Yeah.
Bobby Lee.
Bobby Lee. Hey, I kind of
Yeah.
look like you right now. I kind of have the Bobby Lee hair going on.
A little bit. Yeah, no. I mean, LA, crazy city. I imagine we could tell stories for days.
We had an amazing time last time. I loved that time. I have Snapchats from that time,
Oh
and
my
they're
God.
the best.
And I mean, this wasn't the last time, but you've kind of played around with the screenplay based on one of the times we hung out in LA.
Oh my God, that is the best time ever. And you still need to read it because I started it and
Yeah,
it's so good.
for sure. Would you say that your move to LA at that point was probably the scariest thing you had done?
I feel like my sister was such a huge support. And to be honest, she laid everything out for us. She had the house and everything. And
Right.
but it is scary to move across the country.
For
I'm a pro
sure.
at it now.
Right.
I'm a pro now. So if anybody needs any tips, I'm really good at it. Yeah, and my life in LA was so different then because, I had Julian and he was, I think, 7 or 8 at the time.
Mhm.
But I still had caretakers there. My sister would watch him or her girlfriend would watch him. And so I could go party and live it up in the city and woo, I'm in LA,
Right.
But now, when I'm there, I'm just, my life has changed considerably. I'm very homebody and chill and, it's different. So it's any other city to me now, I'm not turning up. So
Right. And you just returned back from a trip out there, right?
I did. Yeah, it was great.
I saw
Yeah, I
little.
was there for 12 days with my sister and she lives in Echo Park in the hills and it's beautiful. It's really cool.
Well, you're saying you don't really turn up now when you go back, but I think I saw some video of little Rafi turning up with Aunt Trish.
Yeah, Rafi was turned up. Rafi hit the pinata. He was eating in one of those eggs, the
yeah.
chocolate Easter eggs. He was turned. He was lit.
Yeah, no, it looked like a
They're
good
all
time.
about LA.
Yeah, I saw Trish dropping it on him. So
She was dropping it. She was like, run that Kia, my neck, my back, and let's do this.
yeah, she got them strong knees. Them strong knees.
She has strong knees.
That's right.
Me too. Sue's got it also. I have videos to prove it.
Good genes. Good genes. I do imagine there was one thing that made the move hard, and it's something we haven't really brought up yet. But Julian has a half brother, correct?
Yeah.
And the brother was still here in Chicago when you guys moved out to
Right.
LA. How is navigating that, right? Because I imagine that becomes very tricky and it's tough. You want them to have a relationship.
That's the hardest part about being on the other side of the country.
Yeah.
And one thing about Los Angeles is it really is on the other side of the country.
Sure.
It feels so far away because it is a longer flight. There's a different time zone. And I spent a lot of time in LA feeling guilty for not living closer to my parents, for not trying to work really hard on Julian's relationship with his dad and his brother. And even though it's not my responsibility to to make his dad be, Kevin does his best. We'll give him that.
Yeah.
But I think I really wanted to make sure that I wasn't separating his relationship with his brother. So I made a point to fly back often, to see my parents as much as I could. So Julian could spend a lot of time with his brother during the summer. And that's one reason why we're in Chicago now, because I still want to consider, I still want that for them. And I think when I am in LA, I do feel guilty about, and I just lived in Florida also for 14 months. So I do feel guilty at times being further away, and like you brought up earlier, the pandemic, that was even more difficult because you just never knew when it was going to end. You never knew when it was going to be okay to see people again. And,
right.
you don't want to separate people, especially brothers. So
yeah. And how is that relationship doing today?
It's good. And what's good about it is that they're older too now.
Right.
So I think Aiden is 11. He's 11. So, as they get older, they have their own relationship. They can text each other. They can FaceTime. They play their little game together. I'll go pick him up and bring him over. It's much better. And obviously as they get older, it gets easier. Because I'm sure eventually he's going to be 18 and just living over here or something. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, they can talk through what they're going through, their different experiences, all that stuff. I imagine that's very helpful. For both of them,
yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I love him. He looks just like Julian. And the crazy thing is Julian was 3 years old, and one day his dad just pulls up to come get Julian with an identical baby in the car. I'm like, who the hell? Who is this? And he's like, oh, this is Julian's little brother Aiden. I'm like, oh my God, it looks just like Julian. It tripped me out. But I love him. He's so freaking cute. He looks just like Julian.
I saw there was a picture posted today. Was that him?
Oh, no, you know what? That was Barron's nephew.
Okay,
That's
gotcha.
Barron's nephew. The only other grandchild on Barron's side. So, yeah.
Very cool. Now, we've talked a little bit about growing up alongside your kid, babies having babies,
I feel
asked
like
that
I
of
was
it.
a teen mom, to be
Yeah.
honest. I was
Yeah.
like, MTV needs to call me. I'm teen mom.
And so talk about, how you guys have kind of grown up together then, because
Yeah.
I've definitely seen it just kind of as a bystander, right? Just watching you guys get older together,
Yeah.
and it's been kind of cool to watch.
Yeah, Julian is like my ride or die. Like he's the clutch. He is great, and he is, obviously I'm his mom and he respects my authority, but like we're homies too. We're close. We share a lot of the same things. We make each other laugh. He's so funny. I genuinely enjoy his company. So I love Julian.
And I imagine as a single parent, especially in those early years when things are a little leaner,
Yeah.
and it's just you two, I imagine he, played a lot of roles that, in a normal situation, an adult plays, right? Maybe he's someone that's
Yeah, I mean,
comforting
he
you
even
or,
steps it up now sometimes.
yeah.
He thinks he's the man of the house. He thinks that obviously Baron is, but he is like Raph's second dad. So if Raph needs his diaper changed, Julian like lets me know. If Raph, needs help chewing, making food or whatever, Julian's there. So
Mhm. Uh, I mean, again, just using my own personal experience, like there's times when I'm having a rough day, right? Like
mhm.
I'll talk to Shep, and Shep will he'll comfort me, and
Oh, I know. I love Shep. Shep is
he
amazing. I
is
can tell that about him. He's an old soul.
he is a little bit. He's also into some really weird shit, so maybe that is part of his old soul. Um, but like did Julian play that role at all with you? Were there times where he was kind of a comforter?
Oh, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, definitely. Julian would like hug me, if I was like going through a breakup or whatever was going on, he was very supportive. He still like cheers me on.
Yeah.
He's still like, "Mom, you look great. Good job, Mom," and whatever. He has nothing but great things to say about me. So
Those are some of the sweetest moments I've experienced so far as a parent. The moments when Shep will say, will tell Lita just genuinely out of the blue, like, "Mama, you look beautiful," or something along those lines,
Oh,
because
well, Lita is a supermodel stunner. That
well,
Lita.
she is,
Yeah.
but it's also like there's something when it comes from the child's mouth like that. It's just
It's true.
yeah,
Because
exactly,
my son has also been like, "Mommy, what's that?" And like pointed to my cellulite. I'm like, oh, "Okay, thanks."
exactly.
You're
They
keeping it real.
they are the best and they are the worst.
You keep
Um,
it real.
yeah, no, they really do. Um, Who do you think has more dirt on you, Julian or Trish?
Trish for sure, but Julian knows some shit.
He's got
Julian really knows it, and Julian will tell it.
he knows where some
Yeah,
bodies.
Julian's more of a loose cannon for sure. He'll spill my tea.
You're homeschooling,
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. How's that going? Because that in and of
I love
itself,
it personally. I really enjoy it. I think the program that he does is like really just cut and paste. It's easy, and you like the way that it teaches math. So I could just rave about the program first of all, but also like it just kind of allows us to like travel and just have a little bit more flexibility with time. And Julian gets life experience in other ways that I think are really valuable.
mhm.
I wouldn't recommend homeschooling for everybody. Again, I believe with Raph that we're just going to try to we're just going to put him into school and like see where he goes, and if it works, it works. But for Julian, it's definitely very helpful for him to do homeschooling, and he's doing great.
And he wasn't always homeschooled, right? He wasn't
Right.
like so he has
Yep,
experienced that.
he did. He started homeschooling basically in junior high. So sixth, seventh, and eighth, he's been homeschooled. He's in a homeschooling program.
And do you think that is something that as a parent who's working and now homeschooling, again, I'm not trying to beat this horse to death, but I feel like that would make me feel stretched pretty thin. Is that something? It sounds like maybe the way that the program's set up. Uh,
Yeah, it's a lot of independent work on his behalf. So I'm like his learning coach.
Uh-huh.
That's basically what I do. So I oversee him, but now that he's in 8th grade, he basically does independent work. I just, go over it with him and make sure that he understands it. I actually really enjoy like doing algebra and geometry with him because that's
Really?
where he's at. The history going back
Oh
and
yeah.
doing that and kind of relearning that stuff. I actually really enjoy it, and I enjoy spending the time with him. I do feel stretched thin, but at the same time, I'm really not working much now. So I'm basically just kind of at home with the kids all the time, unless I want to go do something. And now that it's getting nice, we need to go hit the 606 or
We
whatever.
do. We do. We
Yeah, that's
do.
great.
We have a It's like
I
it's
just, yeah, I love the free time it is for us.
yeah.
And I just want to say one thing, because people will bring up like socialization to me.
Mhm.
That's normally somebody's argument when coming at homeschool.
Right.
But I just feel like kids are just distracting to other kids at times. And I just don't
Okay.
want Julian to have that distraction. They pick up bad habits. There's a lot of just BS,
Yeah.
especially like middle school age. It's a lot of BS. Like, why should my kid have to deal with that? Like, we need to be focused on school. I'm not focused on who said what about who. I'm not focused on this girl dumping you today. We
Right.
just don't need that drama.
Yeah.
That drama's always going to be there. So I think that that's one thing that I'm glad that we curved
For sure.
with the homeschooling. So
Well, and
I actually say I love that.
CPS schools are notoriously not great. I don't want to like put that blanket
Right. Yeah. And then
statement
if,
on them.
if he goes to school here, like you got to go to a private school. And what's that? Like
Right.
25,000 a year, And I'm like, Jesus, and then I'm like, is Julian college bound?
Right.
Do we want, like, I just want him to be a reseller like me.
Right.
I'm like, go to the family business. He can do what he wants to do. But, I don't know, so
Yeah.
it's a difficult choice, but.
Gotcha. And as you're obviously more hands-on with his learning experience, what is he gravitating towards? As far as is he kind of more of an English guy like your dad, or it sounds
He's
like
into
maybe math?
tech. He likes
Yeah.
tech stuff. Like he's ready to go to San Francisco and like Silicon Valley and like be the next Elon Musk.
Oh
No, he
yeah.
actually wants to he likes video gaming type stuff.
Sweet.
But then he also went to my chiropractor with me one day and said he wanted to be a chiropractor. And I was like,
Oh, nice.
okay.
He can come over and crack my back.
So that was you. Exactly. I'm like, walk on my back at all times. Yeah, so he's into that. So I've heard multiple things, but he loves to like code and do stuff like that, like on his computer and on his PlayStation and whatever. He's like a gamer. So he's basically gonna be living in my basement forever.
Well, and I know that your decision wasn't pandemic related, but I do feel like the
Right.
pandemic has created this shift where more people are doing homeschooling, and
Total.
it's become more normalized. So
Yeah.
that also has to be something that makes you feel a little bit better, or just to
It
see
really
it normalized.
does.
Yeah,
Because my parents were teachers and they gave me hell about it. Like, what are you doing? But then as soon as the pandemic hit and everybody had to be homeschooled, Julian was already in his program. So there
right.
was no like scrambling about trying to figure anything out. And I was just like, booyah to my parents because I'm like, look, we're already prepared. We're set in this,
Yeah, yeah. This
So
is our
I was
normal.
like, take that.
Well, that has to feel good. Um,
It felt great.
and I don't want to put this in a way that it's no parent knows really any more than another parent. We're all out here trying to do our best, and uh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
but part of the reason I did want to start this podcast is, as parents, I think if you think you're smarter than someone else, that's probably a good sign that you're not. But I think a lot of good parents out there are seeking information from other good parents. And what
For
advice?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, what advice would you give to parents based, just your overall experience? You now have you have a teenager, you have an infant.
Right.
You were a very young mom, not a teen mom, but
Right.
you had a child very young. Now later in life
Mhm.
you have a child. So I feel like you've kind of been on both sides of the spectrum. You
Definitely.
The advice you would give is I think would probably be pretty good. So is there anything out there that stands out that you would want to pass along?
I just think that parents at the end of the day, just don't be hard on yourself. Just do the best that you can and then close the book on it. Don't sit here and think to yourself, oh, I did terrible. Could I have done this better? At the end of the day, just feed your kids, keep them clean, prioritize the things that are important and just don't be too hard on either one of you guys, because honestly, we're all growing up. You know, we're all getting older. These kids are going to grow up. Everybody's going to live at the end of the day, you know, so just do the best that you can. Just make sure your kids are fed, you know, clean and in bed, and you're good, you know. So that's just my advice. I think parents are really hard on themselves, and I used to have a lot of anxiety around that too. So
I think part of that is just like, you know, it's almost like a way to, you know, when you over prepare for a test or something like that, you freak out about it as a parent. You know, maybe that's our way of just ensuring that we don't allow our children to die, you know, by.
for sure, you know, and that's what's really crazy, because when I was 23 and I was having Julian, I had like no resources. You know, I lived in like a ghetto neighborhood, and like you know, just like didn't know anything. I was, you know, just didn't even know what to do at all. Hadn't even held a baby before until I held Julian.
Right.
But now with Raph, I'm like doing everything and like reading everything that I can and trying to do it right. And I bought the Owlet sock, you know, that it's like a $300 sock that you put on the baby's foot to make sure it's breathing at all times. Like I was a loon boon. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is crazy. You know, the baby's good.
Which I feel like is the opposite of a lot of people. Like for us, it was, you know, we were like that for Shep, and then with Solo, it was kind of like, you
We
know,
got
like,
this.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, he's okay, he's fine. He fall down a flight of
Right.
stairs. Like,
right.
come on, dust yourself
Yeah,
off.
that's
kid.
what's crazy. It was backwards for me.
But yeah, no, it's been fun to watch. You know, you, as I've, you know, said, just as a friend and also as a, you know, as a bystander on social media, you
Thank
kind of take this
you.
journey, and I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Why don't you plug your store again one more time for our listeners?
Okay, I'm Fashion X Logic on eBay. Come check me out. Not just fashion, but like accessories, jewelry, bags, anything, Legos.
That's right. Oh, we got all that good. And
You
then
got it.
before I let you go, you know, were there any questions that you had for me?
I just wanted to say that I realized that Lita is like woman of the house too. She's just like me. So you
Yeah.
guys, it's you and the two boys, and it's me and my two boys. So
That's
she
right.
is like queen of the house, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, you guys just probably love her so much. I
I'm,
love that.
yeah, I'm the domesticated, you know, homebody, or the
You're the
stay-at-home
house
parent.
husband.
Yeah, the
That's
house
what my
husband.
dad is. The
Yeah.
house husband now.
Again, thank you. We're gonna hit the 606. We're gonna get a play day together
We're doing it
for
all.
Solo.
We're making a ton
and-
of plans. We're
and
leaving our
Rafi.
partners. We're running away. We're taking our kids.
That's right. Sorry, Baron and Lita will make a beautiful couple.
Peace. This is actually us getting together.
Yeah, this is the beginning of the end. So thank you to all the little tickle monsters that are still with us. Next week, I actually don't know who our guest is. We were gonna maybe do a tribute to Mama Pappas, but
Yes, Mama Pappas.
you know, I'm thinking that we're leaving for Mexico in a couple days, and it might be
I
hard
hate
to
you guys.
record
I
that
know.
episode. So stay tuned with what our next episode will be. But thank you for listening. Thank you to our guest Kate for joining us today. And don't forget, if you are watching this on YouTube, hit subscribe. Please rate and review the podcast wherever you are listening to it. And we will see you next week. Prop Cause, take us away.